Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa. This is Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to be talking to you about everything I made in the month of November. Spoiler, it's a lot. So I do have quite a few things today to go through, so I'm going to do my best to speed along as best I can. The first one, just to mention, is something that I made for the Cashmerette Club. It's one of my Cashmerette Club collaborator makes. This pattern is actually not coming out until February, so I have to sit on it until then. But I just want to say that I absolutely love how it turned out. It is one of my favorite things I've made, one of my proudest makes as well, which says a lot. I've been sewing for quite a while, and I cannot wait to show you guys more in February, but just wanted to mention one extra thing I made that you'll hear more details about later. Next up is what I'm wearing, because I can't wait to tell you guys about it because I love it. It is definitely one of my favorite makes this month. Like I said, I've made a lot, so it's hard to really pick favorites. There's quite a few wins, but this sweater is absolutely beautiful. So this is the Valdivia Sweater by Alissah Threads. It's in this really gorgeous fabric. It's called an Ottoman Knit fabric. It's called Antique Pink, this fabric color, which I absolutely love. So it's got like a ribbed effect on the outside. The inside is completely smooth. It's quite a thick and heavyweight fabric. I ordered it initially to make a dress, but it was way too heavy to make a dress with, but it's so perfect for a sweater. It actually has a bit of drape to it, so it's a combination. I know there's some rayon in here, some polyester, some nylon, and I feel like something I'm missing, spandex in there. And I got it from Sister Mintaka last year. I really love this fabric. The color is just absolutely gorgeous. Because it has a little bit of weight to it, I feel like it works so well with the gathers on these bishop sleeves. So this sweater, you might have remembered me mentioning in my autumn plans, there are different sleeve options for this sweater. So there's one with like a big puff sleeve with some gathers at the shoulder, as well as this bishop sleeve, and then there, you can do either, or you can do both, or you can just do completely straight plain sleeves. I did want to have some sleeves with a little bit of something going on, and I wasn't quite sure which one I wanted to make. So I actually ended up making, well, cutting out both versions of the sleeve, so the puff shoulder and the bishop sleeve, and I sewed each of them onto the sweater so that I could just have a look and see what I like. So I basted them on just to get a test. I'll put in some pictures so you can see the difference. The one with the puff sleeve on the shoulder is pretty hilarious. Definitely not my style. I think it looks so great on a lot of people who were wearing it, who made it, which is why I was thinking I wanted to have a go, but it's not me. It very much seems like I'm wearing somebody else's sweater. It is quite 80s to me, the way it's just so stand out. I think this fabric in particular really held those gathers well. And yeah, bishop sleeve was definitely the option for me. I do love how much volume is in these bishop sleeves. They are so cozy. There's quite a reasonable like depth of cuff here as well, quite a deep cuff. And I feel like there's something like next level snuggly that I didn't know was a thing when you have this bishop sleeve around the wrist. I'm not sure if it's just because there's some gathers, so there's extra fabric here, or there's actually something going on with like air pockets trapping the warmth of your body. But seriously guys, there is such a warm, snuggly feeling with these bishop sleeves. I did wonder if they would be practical, if they would be a pain. I can squeeze them into a coat, it's not a problem. But seriously, since I have made this, I made this probably 5 days ago, finished it 5 days ago, 6 days ago. I've literally worn it every day since I've made it. What I like as well is it's a slightly oversized feel, so it's slightly oversized in the body, which I like. So that makes it really easy to just kind of pull on and off. Even with my glasses, with my hair up, it goes on and off really easily. So it's just been such a nice thing to throw over whatever I'm wearing if I'm feeling a little bit chilly. So this is definitely one that will go with so many of the trousers that I've made recently. I've really enjoyed wearing it with all the various things I've been making recently, but also it's just super cute with my sweatpants at home lounging. I feel so beautiful with these sleeves. It feels really elegant when I'm knitting. I just feel, it really makes me happy, honestly. It's absolutely gorgeous, and this was definitely a big win for me this month. Next up, I want to tell you about my trio of Concord tees. So the Concord tee I've talked about before. I'm a big fan of this t-shirt pattern. It's by Cashmerette. It fits me so well, so easily right out of the box. And I wanted to make some long sleeve shirts because I was realizing as the weather was getting colder and I was swapping out my autumn summer or my summer spring clothes, I didn't have as much of the warmer stuff for the autumn and the winter, and I realized that long sleeve t-shirts was definitely a big gap in my wardrobe. So best thing to do is just to make some up. So I wanted to make different types of t-shirts, so I wanted to use different fabrics, different style options. I have been hacking the heck out of this pattern, the Concord tee. I feel like I've made very few. Have I made any that are straight up? Yeah, the first one I made was just straight up like the pattern, but since then, honestly, I've just been hacking it to death, and I've loved every version that I've made. So this is a version that I made a proper turtleneck version of. So this t-shirt does not come in a turtleneck. I just extended the neckline up and then made the turtleneck option. This, I would say, was adapted from the Freya tee, which is a Tilly and the Buttons pattern from the Stretch book, but I would say it was approximate. I kind of fudged myself how long I wanted the turtleneck to be and quite where I wanted that to finish. But it's essentially just a hacked version, like I said, of the Concord tee. It has the cuffs that are on the Concord tee as well, which makes it feel really kind of snuggly and extra warm. This fabric came from Blackbird Fabrics. It is a really beautiful color. I will say I expect it to be a bit more blue. It's definitely a gray, bluey green color. I mean, it is a beautiful color, and I feel like depending on the light, how it's hitting it, it can look quite different. The pictures that I'll put in, the ones that I took that I've posted on Instagram already, I feel like I got the color pretty accurate, and I feel like it's showing more of the gray at the moment, but like I said, it does look a little bit gray anyway. But this fabric, it's a cotton modal jersey fabric, and like I said, I wanted to try some different kinds of fabrics. I've been interested to see what different fabrics are like in t-shirts. So this definitely has a bit more drape to it than a regular cotton jersey, but not quite as drapey and soft as a modal jersey. I mean, I guess that's what you'd expect with a cotton modal jersey. I do really like it for a t-shirt. I feel like it's a good one to go to. So I do think I'll be coming back to this type of fabric. It's really comfortable. It's definitely been nice and warm, and it's been perfect for the turtleneck, which is just, like I said, very cozy for this time of year. The next one I made, this is just a bamboo jersey fabric. So this is a navy blue. Ooh, it looks even more bright on the screen. It's not quite so bright as that. It's definitely a bit of a deeper blue. I got this one from Ray Stitch Fabrics, and this fabric I'd actually initially intended hoping to make some leggings from it, but it's not the most opaque. So especially when it stretches a bit, it gets definitely a bit too transparent to wear for leggings. It's totally fine for a t-shirt, but I just had to rethink what I was going to do with it. And like I said, I needed more long sleeve t-shirts, so it seemed like another good option for a Concord tee. Because I hadn't ordered it with the intention of making the Concord tee, I didn't have quite enough fabric to do the proper long sleeves, but I really wanted long sleeves. So I looked to see, where does the sleeve end? And then I measured what is the length from there to the end of the top. And then I doubled that over and just basically made a really thick cuff that I then added on. So it's the same width as the sleeve, and it's just basically a little extension there. And I mean, this is a theme, clearly. I'm really enjoying, especially when it's cold, having something really warm and doubling over the fabric, wrapping it around your wrist. I feel like it feels just really cozy and yummy and lovely. Bamboo jersey fabric is super soft. It's definitely very drapey, very comfortable to wear, and I have been wearing that one a lot. It pairs with so much that I've got in my wardrobe. You kind of can't beat a navy blue t-shirt, at least in my books, and very much goes with the palette that I usually am going towards. And my final Concord tee hack was one that I made with a unusual neckline. I got this fabric from a D-Stash on Instagram. I saw the fabric, loved it, knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. So it's a gray background with these really cute cherry print all over it. This is a cotton jersey fabric, really lovely quality. Got it for a ridiculously cheap price on a D-Stash from someone on Instagram who didn't want it themselves. But I knew immediately when I saw it, I wanted something with a little ruched detail on the neckline. I've made a t-shirt that has a ruched detail on the neckline, but I don't love the fabric and it's been putting me off wearing it. It's actually a t-shirt of another pattern I don't want to mention because I don't want to tell people like this is how you can hack this into this, but it's a popular t-shirt pattern. You will probably spot what the neckline looks like because I've essentially stolen the neckline from it. And I have made a ruched detail here just right at the front. So it's really quite an easy hack to do, and I'm happy to share that at some point if people are interested. But essentially what you do is you just take a thin bit of elastic, so this is like 1/4 inch elastic, you pull it really taut from the neckline down, do a zigzag stitch. And then when it releases, when it relaxes, it bunches up and it creates this really cool ruching effect. Now I did want this neckline to be a little bit more narrow than the usual Concord Tee neckline because I felt like that would suit the style of this neckline. So all I did, I cut it exactly as it was meant to be. I think this is for the higher neckline version because it does pull it down a bit, as you can appreciate. And I just sewed it with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance when I attached it rather than the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So it ended up a 1/4 inch thinner than it would have been with the standard neckline. And I think that works really well for this. Now, cotton jersey fabric, I already have had plenty of cotton jersey fabric t-shirts. I know it's a good go-to. I know that it works really well. This fabric and this design, I feel like it's gonna go with loads. I think it would be really cute layered under overalls and pinafore dresses, but equally just on its own with trousers. I think it's definitely gonna be a good go-to, and it's just a little bit different, a little bit of fun, and I'm glad to have it in my winter wardrobe. The next one is one that is a long time coming for me. I have been really wanting to get this sewn up and made in my wardrobe. I finally got my belt in gear to make it this month, and I'm so glad that I did. It is the Blackwood cardigan by Helen's Closet. I have made this pattern before. This is not my first version, and it's not even my first black version. I will tell you why though. I really wanted to get this made up. I know it's not going to show off very well. When I'm showing it to you on camera, it's black. You're not going to be able to see the details, but you can see from the pictures when I'm wearing it. This version is made in a black cotton jersey, straight up cotton jersey that I got from Sew Me Sunshine. I really wanted a new black one in my life because the first version I made of this was similar, so I went for the long length, which I think is so beautiful and really elegant, but I made it in a merino jersey fabric for the first one, and it was actually a remnant that I was working from, and I didn't have quite the recommended length of fabric, and I tried to kind of wing it, and I ended up rotating the cuffs so that they were non-stretch, so it was just a two-way stretch fabric, and the cuffs themselves had no stretch to them, and it's quite a fitted sleeve, so I was never able to pull the sleeves up, which drove me absolutely crazy. But more importantly, merino jersey, it is shifty, it is light, it is difficult to lay it out straight and cut it out straight, and I clearly didn't. So the body, the pockets, the sleeves, everything was always twisting. It didn't sew together really neatly. I loved the look of it and I wanted to wear it in theory, but it just felt really messy and frumpy and not the look I was going for. So I've just been wanting to replace it with any kind of jersey. I didn't think it needs to be merino jersey. Yes, that one was really beautiful fabric, but definitely expensive fabric, and when I didn't work with it well, it was not fabric that I wanted to be wearing either. So I thought cotton jersey, you kind of can't go wrong. It's a pretty straightforward fabric to sew with, and I know that this is going to be one that I will wear a ton because the amount of times that I've pulled out my old version and thought, oh, this will look so nice with what I'm wearing, and actually when I put it on, it just looks really messy and it puts me off, and then I don't want to wear it. So this one I know will go really well with tons of things. So it looks great with dresses because of the long length. I think it is really, really beautiful. It doesn't wrap over completely in the front, which is fine. I don't need it to, but it also pairs really well with just t-shirts and jeans. It looks really cool and casual, or it can look more dressy. So this is very much a wardrobe staple that I am delighted to finally be able to wear. The next one I will tell you about, I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on, so I'll try not to get too in the weeds telling you my feelings about it, but I think it's important to share those things. It is a pattern that you will definitely have seen around because it is super popular in the sewing community, and I feel like especially recently everyone has been making this pattern, and I'm very happy to be jumping on the bandwagon. This is the Heather Blazer by Friday Pattern Company. So it's a relatively simple blazer pattern, but I think it's really effective. It's a slightly oversized blazer. I love the main fabric here, so I think that's giving a pretty good idea of the color. It's definitely like a plum color. It can be a bit more pinky or purpley or red depending on the light. It's a really beautiful blend that I got from the Mossy fabric. So it's linen, Serona, viscose, and cotton. So I will say it's got a lot of the properties of like the texture, the look of it is definitely a linen-y look, but it has a bit more drape and it's a bit lighter weight because of the viscose. Serona, honestly, I'm not too sure, I'm not super familiar with it. I think it's similar to viscose, but a slightly different plant that it's coming from. And the cotton, I feel like means that it's just less prone to creasing. I wouldn't say that it's like super crisp looking, but I do feel like it doesn't crease as much as linen often does and rayon often does, or viscose. Either way, sorry, two words for the same thing, so I'm just using them interchangeably. But the other thing that I really love about it is the lining that I've chosen. So this is a really beautiful viscose twill fabric. I got some from Lamazi Fabrics. I actually got some more from Sew Me Sunshine because I loved it so much I wanted more of it. This is a Zara X Designer fabric, so it has these really gorgeous sunflowers all over it. I feel like the colors go so well with the main body of this. But what I really love about it when you've got that lining in there is this blazer looks super, super cool with the cuffs turned up, and then you can see the little peak of the lining coming out. So I really think the best thing is just to see what it looks like on me, because I know that it's going to give you much more of an idea of what it looks like. I will say I've put this on with dresses and it looks really cute. I've put it on with blouses and it looks really great. But I think my favorite look is actually this super cool t-shirt, jeans, boots, blazer combo. I feel like it's just really relaxed, really comfortable, really cool, and very much I feel like was the look that I was hoping for and the look that I was going for. The other detail that I love is the button that I've got here. So this is a button that I picked up from Liberty Fabrics, Liberty London. I really love the colors. I feel like it ties together so beautifully with the main body there. It's super cool, really unusual, and I wanted to have something a little bit special for this blazer, and I feel like it is just perfect. So the design of this blazer is supposed to be a bit oversized, but I didn't necessarily want it to be too massive, so I did end up sizing down one size rather than what they recommended. And I feel like that is absolutely perfect, the fit and the shape that I was going for. I feel like that worked really well for me. As far as the instructions, I will say that I managed to put it together pretty easily. However, that is because the Friday Pattern Company also have a YouTube channel, and they have a sew along that you can follow in addition to the written instructions. If I had tried to put this together with the written instructions, there's a very good chance that I would have done some things incorrectly or just not even bothered with some of the steps because I couldn't really understand what they were saying. I do appreciate that the video is there, and like I said, it was great and it really did help me through and I was able to do everything, but I was a little bit disappointed that I felt like I really needed the video. I feel like you should be able to get by with just the written instructions and not have to have that backup. I feel like they could have made the written instructions more clear. So there were things like when you were attaching the collar, how you're supposed to attach the hem. There are some really nice, I think they call them like sleeve tabs, sleeve ties that go inside the sleeves to attach the lining to the body of the sleeve. And I feel like that's a really nice detail, but honestly, from the instructions and the illustrations, it was not clear at all what they were trying to get me to do. So I was just very grateful to have that video to follow along. The sleeve lining and the sleeve pieces are exactly the same pieces, exactly the same size as well. And I feel like the sleeves could have done with being a little bit smaller, just because when I put my arm in the sleeve of the blazer, it feels a little bit bulky, all the fabric bunching up in there. I think next time what I would do, because it's a two-part sleeve, top and a bottom, I think I would just sew those together with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance rather than the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance that's in the pattern for just the lining bit. And then I feel like that would just be a bit smoother as I'm putting my arm into the sleeve. It's a minor detail, but it's definitely something that I would look to do differently in the future myself. There were a lot of hand sewing elements in this blazer, which I really appreciated. I like a good bit of hand sewing. I know it's not for everyone, but I feel like you're never going to be able to do some details quite as invisibly with such a nice finish as you can with hand sewing. So there were bits where the hem was hand sewn, there were bits where these little sleeve tabs were stitched in place, there was hand sewing going around the collar. So it's all hand stitched, and I just feel like it has such a beautiful finish. It's not completely invisible, but I feel like it just looks really neat and really couture. And I was able to stitch in the ditch much more neatly than I would have been able to do with the machine. And I think it is just a really gorgeous finish overall on the inside here, as well as on the inside. at the bottom where the lining attaches. I just feel like all these details are really nice and neat as a result of that extra hand sewing. Now I will admit I made this one a little bit late in the fall season to be able to get a ton of wear out of it, but I have to say the viscose twill lining was surprisingly warm paired with the main outer fabric. I was able to wear it really comfortably on a more of a crisp autumn day, maybe not straight into the full-on winter months, but it's been really nice to be able to wear so far, and I'm so looking forward to pairing this with all kinds of different things in my wardrobe. The last sewing project that I want to show you is one that is going to be a little bit ridiculous to try and show you like this, but I gotta try. This is the Billie wearable blanket, which is basically a knockoff of the hoodie. It is essentially it's a blanket that you can wear as an item of clothing. So in this cold weather, you can put it on your body over whatever you're wearing, keep yourself really nice and warm, and you essentially feel like you're wearing a blanket because you basically are. And because it has sleeves, you can then actually get up and go and make yourself some food, make yourself a cup of tea, go about your business whilst being able to wear your blanket. Great plan, right? I'm absolutely loving it so far. I finished this a couple of days ago and I've been wearing it pretty much constantly when I'm at home just to have the extra snuggly layer. The fabric that I've got is this really beautiful teddy bear fleece. So it's called powder blue. The outside it's like a boucle fabric. This is 100% polyester I got from Sew Me Sunshine. The inside though is where it's at. So the inside is this ridiculously soft, fluffy teddy fleece kind of filler inside. It is so soft. It is so warm and wonderful to wear. I have been loving having this against my body, keeping me nice and warm. This has cuffs, which I think was a big selling point for me. So I have a like a dressing gown, a robe that I wear in the winter that's really warm, but its sleeves get everywhere, they get wet, they get into everything. Cuffs I can then roll up. So I went for a contrast cuff navy blue just because I couldn't find the exact same shade. I will say the cuffs, I cut out initially the size that they were recommending. This is just like a cotton ribbing fabric. And when I made it the size that they recommended, it was tiny. I could barely get it over my wrists. And I don't think I have big wrists. I think I have quite a small wrist actually. And it was so tight and there was no way I was going to be able to pull those cuffs up. So I just cut out a size that I thought would work better for me, and these I can then pull up and they can be out of the way. This pattern is intended to be either fully lined or at the very least to line the hood, and that's just to make it extra warm and comfortable. But I will say this fabric is so thick and so warm, if I had lined it, I would be absolutely sweating in it and I would never want to wear it. So I decided I was just going to go with one layer of fabric. For the hood, I ended up just folding it back and then stitching it down in place. And I feel like that looks good from the outside as well as from the inside. And it means that I was able to maintain just the one layer of fabric. Where I was attaching it to the neckline though, I feel like this outside of this fabric is not as soft as it is on the inside. And when this was on the inside of my neckline where I just had literally just the edge of that seam allowance coming through, it was a little bit scratchy. It wasn't as comfortable as I was looking for, and the whole point of this is to be comfortable. So I ended up putting some ribbon around it just to cover up that seam allowance. I don't know if you're going to be able to see what's on here, but it's a super cute ribbon that I have with some little ducks on it. This ribbon came from my mom. This was in some of her sewing stash stuff, and I picked it up when I think it was probably when I moved to the UK back in 2003. I saw it, I loved it. I said, "Are you going to use this, Mom?" And she said, "I'm not going to be using that." I think she got it for when we were kids, thinking that she was going to use it on something when she was sewing when we were children, when I was a baby. She didn't use it. I then ended up getting it, and I feel like it goes so well. I think the color is just such a ridiculously good match, and it's really soft as well. So I feel like it works really well for the purpose, and it makes it just way more comfortable as well. This hoodie also has a huge kangaroo pocket fitting the proportions of the whole thing. I will say the bottom of the kangaroo pocket is relatively low. I really have to kind of bend down to get to the bottom of the pocket, but I feel like if it was higher, it would look odd. So I think it's just to do with the fact that it's a really deep pocket. Again, we're just kind of sizing up what a normal hoodie would be like. So it's a little bit peculiar when you're rifling around in there, definitely feeling very kangaroo-like, digging around in my pouch to get stuff out of the pocket if I'm using it. But I'm not using the pocket a ton. It's more just about wearing when I'm relaxing, like I said, at home, on the couch. If I'm reading, knitting, watching TV, playing video games, whatever I happen to be doing, I can do it in comfort, feeling super snuggly, and then when I need to get up, I don't have to lose my blanket. I did get some pictures of me showing the full width of this wearable blanket, so you will definitely get the idea of how ginormous this thing is. But seriously guys, it is so comfortable. I have loved wearing it. I think this is going to be very much my go-to when I get in from work, when I get up in the morning. This is going to be over pretty much everything I'm wearing at home from now until the end of the winter basically. And I actually have a couple of finished knitting makes to show you guys. I've had a productive month in general, including in the knitting front. I have my finished gerste socks. So these are socks, they came from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. It's called Gerste by Verena Kors. I had made the first one earlier this year and then I had another project in between, but I've got these both made up now and I can start wearing them. I have to say this is definitely the fanciest sock I've ever worn. I feel like it's the fanciest sock that I've ever seen. I kind of can't believe that I knit this. So the front of it, I'm just trying to open it out so that you can see, has this really beautiful pattern all over it at the front, which continues up into the leg, and then there's a really gorgeous cuff detail up there. The sole itself is just straight stockinette, so it's not going to be, you know, uncomfortable to wear, but you can see there's a little bit of just variegation. The color itself is slightly darker and lighter at points, which I really do love. I feel like these socks are just next level socks, and I'm really interested to see if I can get a whole drawer full of super fancy socks, but it's going to be a slow process because these don't come together that fast, but honestly, I absolutely love them. The yarn is called Soft Sock by Big Little Yarn Co. I bought it from La Mercerie in the US. This is a merino nylon blend yarn and it was really lovely to work with, and I have quite a bit of it left over, so I think I could probably make another pair of socks in it, which is a nice little bonus. This was definitely a more ambitious knitting project for me, but I'm just so proud that I managed to get these socks made up. There were a lot of stopping and restarting when I was making these, and I just feel like the finished outcome might not be perfect, but it's absolutely beautiful and I'm really proud of them. The other knitting project I can show you came together much more quickly, so I was able to make it in the whole month. And this is the Headband with a Twist by Morella Moment. It's a free knitting pattern. I will put a link to it down below. It's a headband to wear for colder weather, and it is made in English rib, which means it's almost like it's doubled over. It's super thick. When you pull it open, you can't really see through it. It's nice and thick and chunky and essentially kind of ribbed on both sides. And that makes it really nice for this kind of headband. So this is to wear in the colder weather outside. This twist detail is so clever the way it comes together. Like I said, I'm going to put a link down below to the pattern. You can also watch a YouTube tutorial about how to make it. So she's made a YouTube video. I'll put a link to both the pattern and the tutorial. But this, I wanted to use up some of my yarn that's left over from my advent calendar from last year. I got some DK weight merino yarn last year. I got one every day from the 1st of December up until Christmas Day from Made by Penguins. I got some absolutely gorgeous colors, and I used a lot of it to make a cardigan. But even when I made the cardigan, there was quite a bit left over of the different colors, and I didn't want them to go to waste. So I thought it would be really fun to just use up some of the leftover colors that I felt like went really well together. And I think it looks super cool. I really love all the colors. I love the way I was able to use up quite a lot of these little leftover bits. So these were all leftover. None of it was a new mini skein. And I feel like it's really, really nice to wear. It's very squishy and soft and lovely, this yarn. And it is great to wear with my hair up. It's really handy for me because I have to have my hair up at work. Hats often are a lot more awkward to get a good fit when you have your hair up, but a headband works anytime. I will say that this is a very tricky knitting pattern to get used to doing. I messed this one up quite a few times as well. I had to restart this one probably 10 times. And one of the times I gotten halfway through another color and completely messed up. I find this pattern, this knitting pattern, really difficult to unpick. So if I had made a mistake, I just had to start over or just live with it. There are some mistakes in there. There's only one visible on the outside. You'll see this little yarn that should not be there. There are a couple of mistakes on the inside as well, but they're not visible on the outside. So you can pick what an inside and the outside are just to make it, you know, basically pick the bit that you think is going to look the best. Now I can't even find the other mistake on the inside, so it's clearly not that bad. But the point is, I think it looks great. I don't think anyone's going to be looking at those little details. And I think this twist detail is super cool, and it was a great way to use up those little extra scraps of yarn. I've also got a sewing and knitting work in progress to share with you. So as far as the sewing, it is essentially this stack right here. So this is some cotton batting that I have cut out some squares of. I do need more, and I've ordered more of the cotton batting. And then I also have lots of squares of fabric. So this is cotton fabric, 100% cotton, different varieties. The idea is that I'm going to be making some really cool bowl cozies. So I made some bowl cozies last year for myself and my husband. We have loved using them. They have been an absolute staple in our daily life, and I wanted to make some as gifts. So I'm using some different fabrics. Some of them are scraps from things that I've made from before. Some of them are new things that I've bought that I think other people will like. But I'm going to be making up a ton of these bowl cozies and giving them out as Christmas gifts. So I've been in the process of getting ready and organized with those. And my knitting work in progress is some more socks. So this yarn came also from Made by Penguins, but this is their sock yarn. And I've started, this is a top-down, really basic sock pattern. So it's called the I'm So Basic Sock by Summerlee Designs. I've made these socks a couple of times before, so I know that they work well. I'm almost at the point where I'm going to turn for the cuff, or sorry, for the heel. So it's a cuff down, starts at the cuff. I really love the color of this yarn. I think the coloring over it is absolutely gorgeous. The color of the shade is called Lipstick, which I feel like is definitely appropriate. I don't wear lipstick, but I like this color. So I feel like this one is going to be a really beautiful pair of socks. Again, this one is really nice and soft, feels super duper lovely. And I felt like because the yarn itself is so stunning, I just wanted to do a really basic sock so that it's the yarn that sings rather than the design of the sock. And that is it, guys. Well done if you got all the way to the end. I know this was an absolute bumper this month. A lot of that comes down to quite a few of these makes being jersey makes, but also some of the things that I'd started that I hadn't actually finished, but I was a good way into when November came, so I got a bit of a head start. But on the whole, I am really proud of what I've made this month. I feel like pretty much everything is going to be really worn a ton in my wardrobe, and I'm looking forward to see how it all works together with all the pre-existing things that I've made before. Please let me know in the comments down below which of the things I made was your favorite this month, because I'm having a hard time picking a favorite, but this one, it's on my body and I'm loving it. So it's definitely bumping up there as one of my favorite things that I've made. But like I said, there's a few others that are definitely good contenders. Please do give me a like if you enjoyed today's video. Make sure that you're subscribed down below if you want to make sure that you see more of my videos. My next video out to you will be the start of my Vlogmas series, so I'm going to be putting out lots of videos throughout the month of December on the lead up to Christmas, sharing all of the festive activities that I'll be getting up to, and I cannot wait to start getting all festive and Christmassy around here. I will of course be back again at the end of December, back to all of my usual standard videos, and I hope to see you then there too. See you soon! Bye!